Every Halloween night, kids rush into the streets for candy, costumes, and fun. Yet few realize that in the shadows of those glowing jack-o'-lanterns, something else is walking among them. Some call it a spirit of Halloween, others believe it is a trick gone terribly wrong. This year, trick-or-treating was supposed to be unforgettable. A night of friends, laughter, and endless candy. Instead, it turned into a terrifying mystery that still leaves people wondering what really happened. What began as a normal Halloween adventure soon revealed a chilling secret hiding behind every door. And the scariest part is that the truth might be closer than anyone realized. Because when the moon rises high on Halloween, not everyone knocking on your door is human. The neighborhood looked alive with orange lights flickering in windows, plastic skeletons rattling in the cold wind, and children running from house to house with overflowing candy bags. Among them were 3 friends who had been waiting. They wore their costumes proudly and planned to hit every single house on the map. Nothing felt strange at first. Laughter echoed through the streets, leaves crunched under their shoes, and the promise of chocolate kept the excitement high. Yet, as they walked deeper into the neighborhood, they noticed something that made them slow down. The houses ahead looked darker, older, and completely silent. No lights, no decorations, no sound. Just a long road that felt forgotten by everyone else. Still, curiosity pushed them forward because the best treats usually came from the houses no one dared to visit. Then they saw it, a single porch light flickering at the end of the street. The bulb glowed like it was struggling to stay alive, blinking through the thick shadows. A carved pumpkin sat beside the door, its crooked smile stretched too wide, as if it knew a secret the children did not. There was no turning back now. They stepped toward that door, unaware that this would be the moment everything changed. The wind felt sharp, almost as if it whispered warnings they could not understand. The porch steps creaked under their feet, and the wooden boards seemed to sigh like the house had been holding its breath for years. Still, the friends knocked, expecting a friendly smile and a handful of candy. Then, the door slowly opened on its own. No footsteps, no voice, just a long hallway stretching into darkness. A bowl of candy sat in the center of a dusty table, piled higher than any they had seen before. It looked untouched, like no one had dared to take even one piece. Right as his finger touched the wrapper, the front door slammed shut behind them with a violent thud. Their heartbeats quickened. There were no windows, no visible way out, only a dim orange glow deep inside the house, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then they heard it, a soft tap. Tap, tap, coming from deeper within the shadows. It grew louder, faster, closer. They wanted to run, to scream, to escape, yet their feet refused to move, as if the house itself had decided they needed to stay a little longer. The tapping turned unmistakably into footsteps. Slow, heavy. Each step echoed through the walls like the house itself was alive and listening. The friends huddled closer together, their breaths shaky and shallow. Suddenly, a small light flickered on in a room nearby, revealing a narrow doorway. Inside, old Halloween decorations hung from the ceiling. Torn cobwebs covered every corner, and faded costumes lay scattered across the floor as though someone left in a hurry years ago. Silence returned, thicker and more frightening than any noise. They tiptoed into the room, hoping to find a window. Instead, they found walls lined with framed photos. Those were not random kids. They were the kids who disappeared Halloween after Halloween, the ones adults whispered about but never dared to discuss loudly. A soft, raspy voice whispered behind them. They spun around, but the hallway behind them showed nothing. Only darkness stretching like a tunnel into nowhere. The whisper had been close, too close, as if spoken right against their ears. Their hearts pounded harder, urging them to move. They backed away from the walls of photographs, terrified to turn their backs on the rows of smiling faces that no longer smiled for real. A doorway appeared where there had not been one before, lit faintly by a flickering candle. Drawn by fear more than curiosity, the friends stepped inside. Something lurked in the reflection. A tall figure draped in what looked like a tattered cloak stood behind them, though the space behind their bodies remained empty when they turned. Their blood ran cold. Long, shadowy fingers stretched toward them as the mirror began to ripple like water disturbed by a storm. The friends stumbled backward, but the door slammed shut, trapping them inside with the reflection that refused to stay only a reflection. The air felt heavy, and the candle S flame twisted in unnatural shapes, as though reacting to a presence invisible to their eyes. Then a whisper leaked out from the mirror, curling through the air like smoke. The mirror flickered and suddenly showed something different. Not the room, not their terrified faces. The reflection revealed a street outside, crowded with kids trick-or-treating. Except none of those children had faces. Smooth, blank skin replaced every expression. They moved like puppets, stiff and controlled, guided by something unseen. The tall shadow in the mirror stepped forward again, and this time its voice was clearer. It spoke in a tone that felt ancient and hungry. It explained that every Halloween, this house chose a group of visitors to replace the ones it had already taken. Their faces, their laughter, their future adventures would all be absorbed into the house's collection, ensuring the spirit of Halloween never faded. The friends tried to shout back, to say they did not want to be part of any collection. Their voices vanished before leaving their mouths. The house swallowed every word. Then, the reflection shifted once more. Now it showed the three of them, standing frozen in fear. But in the image they wore strange, old-fashioned costumes. Their eyes were empty, their skin pale. They looked like they had been inside the walls of this place for a very long time. The voice hissed a chilling sentence. "Thank you for replacing the missing ones. Now they may go free." They realized the truth. If they stayed here any longer, someone else would take their freedom in exchange. The house demanded balance. They had one chance to escape before the house decided the exchange was complete. One friend grabbed the candle and hurled it at the mirror with all the strength fear could give. Glass shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces that sparkled like falling stars. Then, a faint glow appeared beneath the door. They rushed toward it and forced the door open, spilling into the hallway they first entered. The candy bowl still sat on the table, untouched, but now the house felt different. Less silent, less empty. As they ran, the walls began to shift. Doorways moved, hallways stretched longer. The house did not want to let them go. Every step they took sounded like footsteps behind them too, as if the shadow figure chased them through the dark, gaining ground with every heartbeat. They pushed forward anyway, determined not to become the next missing faces on that wall. Edges. They grabbed the handle and pulled. Nothing. The door refused to open, as though glued to the frame by something powerful and invisible. The tapping began again, faster, louder, coming. They looked at each other, knowing they had only seconds left. The street was bright again, filled with laughter and warmth, as if nothing strange had ever existed there. They ran without looking back. Yet the moment they reached the first familiar house, curiosity forced one of them to turn. The dark, lifeless house had disappeared. In its place stood an empty lot, silent and harmless, as though the house had never been there at all. Still, they knew the truth. It had only vanished because it already got what it wanted. The night continued around them, but Halloween no longer felt like a game. Not after they escaped something that was not finished with them yet. Because somewhere in the distance, hidden behind the cheerful sounds of trick-or-treating, a whisper followed on the wind. The friends made it home before midnight, but the relief never truly settled. Every Halloween decoration, every plastic mask, every porch light now carried a darker meaning. They tried to explain what happened, yet no one believed them. Adults smiled, assuming it was just another spooky story from an overactive imagination. They simply did not understand. Life slowly returned to normal, although the memory of that night clung to them like a shadow that would not let go. Sometimes in the quiet hours, they would swear they heard footsteps behind them. Other times, they saw flickers of movement in mirrors that should have reflected only their own faces. The countdown to the night of costumes and candy brought more dread than excitement. They promised each other they would not go trick-or-treating again. No more dark streets, no more mysterious houses, no more risks. Yet, on the morning of October the 31st, something changed. It showed the three friends smiling, dressed in those strange, old-fashioned costumes they saw in the mirror. The background of the photo? A porch with a crooked pumpkin smiling too wide. At the bottom of the picture, smudged in ink that looked old and uneven, read a single message. They stared at the photo in horror. The house did not disappear. It was waiting, choosing the perfect moment to open its door again.